On the morning of May 31st, 2024, students at one of America's oldest art schools found out their university was dying. Not from their president, not from an email, but from a regulator's website. 90 minutes later, the school confirmed it. The University of the Arts in Philadelphia, 148 years old, more than 1,000 students, 300 years of combined institutional memory in its faculty, announced it would close forever in 7 days. This is the story of how a century-and-a-half-old institution can evaporate in a single week, and why it's going to keep happening. The University of the Arts wasn't a diploma mill or a startup college. Its roots go back to 1876, the same year as the telephone. It sat on Broad Street in the heart of Philadelphia, on what the city calls the Avenue of the Arts. It trained dancers, painters, musicians, and filmmakers for 150 years. It survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and the 2008 financial crisis. Its buildings were landmarks. So what kills a school like that? The boring answer is the true one: arithmetic. A private college is a machine that converts enrollment into payroll. UArts ran on tuition, and its enrollment had been sliding for years, from roughly 2,000 students toward 1,100. Fewer students means less revenue. But the costs, the historic buildings, the faculty, the heat, the insurance, those don't slide. They compound. Every year the gap gets wider, and every year the school covers it by spending reserves, selling assets, and borrowing against the future. Until one day there is no future left to borrow against. By the spring of 2024, the machine was out of road. The school later admitted it would have taken $40 million to save it. $40 million. For context, that's less than the transfer fee for a mid-tier soccer player. But nobody was writing that check. There was talk of a pending donation. It didn't land in time. And here's the detail that should stop you. The closure was announced the same day the summer term began. Students had just paid for classes at a university that its own leadership knew was insolvent. The collapse has a paper trail, and it's damning. On May 29th, the university quietly told its accreditor, the Middle States Commission, that it was about to close because of a cash flow crisis. The commission demanded answers by noon the next day. How long had leadership known? Where were the audited financials? Could they even make payroll? And where were the board minutes? The university missed the deadline. The information it eventually sent was, in the commission's own words, insufficient. 150 years of history, and at the end, the school couldn't produce its own paperwork. Then came the week. The school scheduled a virtual town hall for June 3rd, capped at 500 attendees for a community of thousands. It was canceled minutes before it was supposed to start. The next day, the president, who had been in the job for less than a year, resigned. 2 days after that, the Philadelphia City Council voted to open hearings into how a major institution could implode this fast. Students protested and camped outside Hamilton Hall. On June 7th, the last day, they held what they called a last jam, one final performance on the sidewalk outside a locked building. The aftermath went to the lawyers. More than 20 employees and 14 students sued, arguing the school broke federal law by giving workers almost no warning. The Pennsylvania Attorney General opened a review into the closure and into any transfer or loss of assets on the way down. Temple University explored absorbing what was left, and more than 1,000 students scattered into emergency transfer agreements, trying to finish degrees at schools they never chose, in a city that had just watched its arts university disappear. Here's what makes 7 days truly indefensible. 4 months earlier, 40 minutes away, Cabrini University also closed. Same economics, same pressures. Cabrini gave its students a full academic year of notice. Teach-out agreements were signed early. The campus wound down in order. Same storm, same state, opposite endings. Which tells you the 7 days wasn't the storm. It was the ship. And the storm is just beginning. American higher education is walking into what demographers call the enrollment cliff. Starting around 2025, the number of 18-year-olds begins falling, a delayed echo of the 2008 crash, when Americans simply stopped having as many babies. Small private colleges that depend on tuition are the first exposed. Dozens have already closed. Hundreds more are running the same arithmetic UArts ran. Shrinking classes, fixed costs, borrowed time. Most of them will not announce their endings a year in advance. Some of them, statistically, will announce it in a week. This channel is called Collapse File. We document how institutions fail, with the numbers, the paper trail, and the people left standing in front of locked buildings. Not because decline is entertaining, but because the arithmetic is coming from more of them, and the warnings are always sitting right there in the documents, years before the 7 days start. If you want the next file when it opens, subscribe. There is, unfortunately, no shortage of material.